All right. Topic number 3 for this week is what? Oh, hold on. This one's from you, Colin.
Oh.
You're talking about a little game that you like a lot called Singularity.
Yeah, I do. I love it.
Now, tell us about this little dilemma we got going on.
So I've been a big fan of Raven for a while, and Raven I think is the most understated and underappreciated of all of Activision studios.
I thought you were talking about the Twisted Metal Black character.
No.
Okay.
And Raven has made a few. I mean, Raven's been in the id was kind of in the id family for a little while. Like I think that they're in Wisconsin, I think, and I think that they originally moved there because that's where id was, and they were doing like Quake stuff, like Quake mods and things of this nature and whatever. And then they kind of just spun off into their own studio at some point. And they got involved with Activision, so they ended up making their own games. At some point, I think in 2009, they released, or maybe it was 2010, they released a game called Singularity. And I really liked that game. Singularity was very different for an Activision published game because Activision's all about annualization. Activision's all about making money, and that's their right, and they do it very well. But Raven made this shooter about going to this Soviet-controlled island where you can like turn back time and do all sorts of weird shit. And Greg always makes fun of it because he knows I like it. And Raven randomly tweeted out yesterday, as the day we're recording this, that they're bringing Singularity, but they're going back, is what they're saying. And they've released this picture of Singularity. Now, no one knows what this means. God help me if it is a fucking re-release of that game.
I don't think they're going to do a Singularity re-release. As good as that game is, I like that game a lot too.
But this was the big question: was that I love Singularity. I really enjoy that game. I highly recommend it. I think it's a great game, and I've turned many people onto that game over the years. But it was a game that I didn't expect would ever come back. No matter how much I loved that game, I was like, with Resistance, for instance, I love Resistance. I'm a huge Resistance fan. I do believe in my heart that Resistance will come back. Insomniac probably won't do it, but Sony's not going to let that sit forever. Singularity was one of those things where I was like, this game probably didn't sell more than a few 100,000 copies. That is nothing for Activision, and they probably have zero interest in it. Remember that they shut the studio down to Prototype and stuff like that. Like, and those games those weren't good games, but they sold well. So like, they're all about, when Neversoft still existed, they had Neversoft making Call of Duty maps. Mm-hmm. Like it was, so like they're all about maximization. And when I saw this tweet, I was like, holy shit, they're going to bring Singularity back, which is like a pipe. It was like when they released Mega Man 9. I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. And it brought up a very simple question for me. What is the game for you, or the series for you, that is dead, that you'd be shocked but pleasantly so if they were to bring it back?
Man, I got so many. My number one go-to is Amplitude, and I can't believe it's happening. Like, I cannot believe we're actually getting another Amplitude.
Almost didn't.
Yeah, I know, but we are. Holy shit. That's insane. I feel like the PS2 generation, I've said this a bunch of times, it has so many games that are like that, where it's just these one-off things that happen that we're not going to get another one ever. This is a game, Downhill Domination. Fucking love that. Mm-hmm. As a mountain biking game. Fucking awesome. I put so many hours in that game. We're never going to get one again. There's no fucking chance. Probably shouldn't, really.
Was that an EA big game?
No.
They did like Sledstorm.
It was made by Incognito. So they did...
Right, they did War of the Monsters.
Yeah, Twisted Metal Black, War of the Monsters, and then Downhill Domination.
Yep.
It was so good.
I've got 2. Surprisingly, they're both on Dreamcast. Power Stone.
Oh, Power Stone's awesome.
Power Stone is like the only fighting game I ever played. And Shenmue. Shenmue was just...
I think you're going to get Shenmue.
Shenmue, I do think there's a chance.
Really?
Shenmue's one of those weird games where it's like enough random people want it that it might just happen.
I think it's just a very loud minority. I don't think... Like, I like Shenmue. I would love a Shenmue 3. But I think that we are few and far between, really. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it will, in the sense that now that crowdfunding's a thing, somehow that'll happen. That minority is just going to be really
iOS
loud.
Game.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Mine would be PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy.
Wow.
You guys ever play that on PS2
Yeah.
and Xbox?
Mm-hmm.
Midway game. Like Star Wars kind of force powers, but like really grisly kills and stuff. You could like go inside the minds of bad guys and make them jump off cliffs and stuff. No one really played it. You could play as a Scorpion in it. You could do a code. It was a Midway game. Which they did that all the time with like Blitz and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You could be Mortal Kombat characters. That game was incredible, and I bet with like a new re-release or something with like good controls, or a sequel or something would be great. But no one ever fucking talks about the game, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah. What about you, Colin?
Singularity would have been one of the games that I would have checked on my list. I really do love that game. And I remember reading that. I remember someone. I was like, "Is this a joke?" And what you were saying about they're not going to re-release, it's kind of laughable to think that they'll make an HD version of that game or a whatever 1080p version of that game. I think it's more laughable to think they're going to make another game. So like I actually in my mind I'm almost like they're going to release an 1080p version of this fucking game.
Isn't Raven doing like Call of Duty maps? Maybe it's a map based on the Singularity Island.
That
or
was
something.
that was the last game that they made. Was Singularity. That was the last game they made.
What was before that? They did that 2009 Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did Wolfenstein
and X-Men Origins.
Yeah, they did X-Men Origins and then Wolfenstein, which was actually good.
Bad.
I liked their Wolfenstein games because they did more than one. And then they did Singularity, and then they were on Call of Duty map pack duty forever. Yeah. So like when I was thinking about that, just to be clear, like I think it's equally laughable that they would make a new one. Or just release we're gonna release Singularity HD.
This was from the official Raven Twitter.
Yes,
and it said Singularity is back.
Yeah,
the phrasing. Because I can't see any possible outcome to this, other than my half joking this Call of Duty map is kind of.
I think it was. I'm looking it up now.
It's a new Advanced Warfare Singularity map.
Here it is. I'm looking it up now because it says, we're going back Katorga 12. That was the island.
Yeah.
And it's a picture
RBN
of Singularity.
25? What is that hashtag RBN25?
It's their 25th anniversary of...
We're going back.
Yeah, so they released... It says, we're going back, hashtag Katorga 12, which is the island where the game takes place. And then hashtag RVN25, which is Raven's 25th anniversary.
Maybe Katorga is like a conference room at their studio, and they needed to go back in there.
There's so many options.
It's unbelievable. So I don't know. That was just weird. But for other games that I'd love to see come back, I would have to go back. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more Star Tropics at all in a long time. Those were weird games, and I'd like to see more Star Tropics. We did a Let's Play for a game called ActRaiser, which is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games, and they did make a sequel for that, which was a fucking abomination. I'd love to see them make a real ActRaiser game. And ActRaiser, for people that don't know, is really one of the most brilliant games I think ever in terms of its premise, because it is half God Sim, half action game, half side-scrolling action game. There's nothing like it. So I'd love to see them go back and do more of that. And really, the dormant franchise that I would love to see live the most is Final Fantasy Tactics. They made Tactics A and A2, and they were fine. But they were not Tactics. They were not, the closest we got really was Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, which was a very late PSP game. There's something special about that game and that formula, and I'm really shocked that they've never gone back and done more with it. Because I would think that could be annualized and be totally great.
I think Tactics A is underappreciated because I actually never played the original Final Fantasy Tactics. When I got my Game Boy Advance SP, I just wanted some bullshit to play in class so I didn't have to learn things. Yeah. And A came out, and that you could get 200 hours of gameplay out of that.
It is a good game.
That's what got me into it. I played that for 200 hours in college, and that got me to go back to Tactics when War of the Lions came out. So, and even A2 I thought was pretty good. Not quite as good.
They are good. They're just different. Tactics, I think, is deeper. It's a little grittier. Square just surprises me that they just continue to not do what is most obvious with their IP, and so it's a little weird to me. They'll make 3 Final Fantasy 13 games that no one really wants, but they'll ignore, they'll make Dragon Quest into an MMO or something like that. And then they'll announce a Dragon Quest Musou game from Omega Force, but they won't, make a real Dragon Quest game. So it's not a huge surprise. But that if they were we're making a Final Fantasy Tactics 2, a real sequel, just like the original Final Fantasy Tactics, I shit my pants.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I'd be so excited. So excited.
I feel like there's a lot of games. I mean, we said Onimusha earlier. I would love a new Onimusha. I don't think that'll happen, but there's a chance randomly that it could just come out of nowhere.
I would love that. I would love that too.
But then I feel like there's a lot of franchises that I don't think are completely out of the realm of possibility. I would love another Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Actually, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
I think that'll happen.
And but I'm saying going back to the 2-minute runs, not this open world stuff, whatever. Just really classic Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
That doesn't mean anything if they don't get the controls right. Because I was so excited about HD, and that did not feel like Tony Hawk.
Have you played it after the patch?
No, I didn't know they patched it.
They added the revert to it.
Oh, really?
And it totally changes the physics, and it definitely feels way more. It's not perfect.
Not just on the revert, they changed the physics on just landing, on everything, the Benihana or whatever.
It totally feels different,
really?
And it feels way more like Tony Hawk.
Kind of want to go back to it now.
It's definitely worth going through. I replayed the whole game, and I was like, wow, this is so much better.
Okay.
But I would love a new actual Tony Hawk game. And, man, Crash Bandicoot. Can I please just fucking get a Crash Bandicoot? And I'm talking the old Crash Bandicoot games. For linear platformers, not freaking mind over mutant bullshit.
Yeah, you'll get Crash, but you're not gonna get that Crash.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's the problem. So the game that I want will never come. Also, a sequel to Super Mario 2 USA.
Oh,
I would like that a lot.
really?
Yes.
Have you beat like the lost levels on All Stars?
Yeah.
Really? That game is fucking hard.
Wait, no, I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking about like the Doki Doki Panic.
Oh, you're talking about the one
Yeah.
that was released here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah, like
I meant lost levels. That's fucking
Yeah,
hard.
no, I definitely don't need a sequel to
Oh,
that.
yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like that was such a unique game, and like it's so good, and it's underrated when you compare it to the other Mario games.
Everyone loved it until they realized it wasn't a real Mario game, and then there was a lot of
I still love
revisionist
it.
history.
It's an
No, but there was a
incredible
lot of we always say a lot of revisionist history with that game. Like that game's kind of come and gone and come and gone. It's the same. A lot of Nintendo franchises are like that. Everyone loves Majora. Like we said before, everyone loves Majora's Mask. But right now, everyone fucking hated Majora's Mask 5 years ago. I'm so sick. That's my favorite Zelda game, and it has been since it came out.
Okay.
But I know screaming from the mountaintops. Nintendo fans are a little fickle with that stuff. Same thing with Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Wind Waker, the revisionist history around Wind Waker was fucking extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it.
Yep.
So I agree with you. Mario 2, I think, deserves more love. And when I was expressing this to someone before, Wart's a really interesting character. I'm surprised he's never made it into Smash.
Is he really a really interesting character?
Yeah,
He's got a piano. He throws vegetables. What else do you want?
He's an interesting looking character. He's of an, like kind of the ethereal like dream world, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised that they haven't given him more love. Like, I'm really surprised he's not in Smash at some point. Like, I wonder if they tried to work him in. I think he's awesome. I think he's a fucking way more cooler character than fucking Bowser. And like, I agree that
What's this based on?
just based on the way he looks,
Based
those
on the
boss
like
fights.
4 seconds he's in
has a
one
robe?
boss fight.
Well, there's the intro sequence.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, I've actually taken all those guys like Mauser and a lot of those characters I really enjoy.
Well, they're cool.
I think that there might be a problem. I'm not entirely sure how far the palette swapping and sprite swapping went in that game, where I wonder if they can't put Wart in Smash because he's really...
I don't know. I mean, because they got Shy Guys, they got Birdo, they got all the other motherfuckers.
Right, but I wonder, there's got to be a reason, right? Like, he's relevant.
I mean, I think the reason is they just haven't used him in any other Mario game since.
Look at the rest of the bosses that aren't Birdo, which isn't even a real boss, like Flamer, Mouser, all those. Like, they're not in there. The weird eagle head thing that eats you.
Yeah.
That's not in anything.
Yeah,
Certain
like
things, the turnips are, like you said, Shy Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a deeper reason.
Here's the smartest thing.
I'm thinking about it now, and I never really thought about it.
Here's the most genius thing about Mario 2. The albatrosses that toss bombs at you, they're called albatosses.
Holy shit.
That's their name. Albatos.
That's fucking awesome.
The best name in the history of fiction.
And then the Shy Guys that are fire are Fry Guys.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's Sniffets.
Yes, man. God, they really... Nintendo's fucking nailing it. But, okay, so I would love a sequel to that. They kind of, on the DS, had Super Princess Peach, which was, like, kind of inspired, but it wasn't really an actual sequel to it.
And in a way, you could say the 3D world. I mean, it's, got the 4 characters. You're picking up the turnips and throwing them and stuff. Like,
Well, I'm talking about... I want a 2D. Like,
you want to do the Mega Man 9 thing with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or even like a new Super Mario Bros. Actually, no, forget that. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. But the other game that like I would have a couple years ago, probably like 10 years ago at this point, been like, man, I'll do anything for a sequel and I'm never going to get it. Yoshi's Island. Like that was the one that I'm like, fuck, I want this again. And then they did it, and it was like, oh.
They did it twice, and both times it sucked.
Yeah.
They did the new one, which was terrible.
The new
Yoshi's
one was
New Island.
horrible.
I fucking hate that game. And I hope that would be okay, because Yoshi's Island DS was the first time they tried that, and they at least tried to kind of emulate the art style and stuff.
I feel like this one just looks like garbage. But Yoshi's Island DS gets hated on so much. I don't think it's that bad. It's just definitely not that good.
The new one's the worst one, for
Yes.
sure. But, yeah, Yoshi's Island DS is nowhere near as good as the original one.
But I wanted to sequel that so bad. So maybe we shouldn't get sequels to things. It'll just break your fucking heart. Is there any more, Alfredo?
No, I mean, those two I think would pretty much land it for me. Yeah.
I was with that about Twisted Metal, because that's one of my favorite series ever. Like, Twisted Metal 2 and Black, and the first one, too, are among my favorite games of all time. And so after Black, like when I heard that like Jaffe and Scott Campbell and those guys were doing Eat, Sleep, Play, and they were going to do this big, like that was like the big thing at E3 one year. Is they came out in the Sweet Tooth truck and was like, holy shit, they're doing this right. And when I first started getting worried, and I saw like all these helicopters.
Well, I mean, as soon as the gameplay started, even then, like the fucking truck came out and we were there.
Yeah,
we were freaking the fuck out.
Yep.
And then they start showing gameplay and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
There's only, and you don't see the characters, and you have to choose factions.
Yeah, and the cars
like,
aren't
what?
unique to each person.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here's the crazy cab driver in Yellow Jacket. It's like, no, here's this clown guy, but he can be in a truck or he can be on a motorcycle. And
Yeah.
This doesn't seem
Yeah.
like Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
And also something about that genre of gameplay. It's I think it was a product of its time. It played fine,
Yeah.
but it just didn't strike the same chords as it did back then.
Exactly.